How a Bad Choice in Men Can Get You Beheaded. A Tale of Mary, Queen of Scots, and Her Terrible Taste in Husbands. If you thought Henry VIII and his six-wife roller coaster was the epitome of royal romantic disasters, think again. Enter Mary, Queen of Scots, the 16th century monarch who took bad choices in men to a whole new level. While Henry's wives faced divorce, beheading, or survival, shout out to Catherine Parr. Mary's love life was a Shakespearean tragedy mixed with a dark comedy. Her three husbands, each more disastrous than the last, prove that picking the wrong guy can literally cost you your head. Let's dive into the chaotic mess that was Mary's marital misadventures. Husband No. 1, Francis II of France, the teenage heartthrob who peaced out early. Mary's first husband, Francis II, was the equivalent of a high school sweetheart. They married when she was 15 and he was 14. Adorable, right? Well, not so much. Francis was sickly and frail, and 2 years into their marriage, he died at the tender age of 18. While this wasn't exactly Mary's fault, you can't really blame her for his weak constitution. It set the tone for her future relationships, short-lived and ending in tragedy. Francis's death left Mary a widow at 18, forcing her to return to Scotland, where her life quickly spiraled into a series of increasingly poor decisions. Husband No. 2, Lord Darnley, the pretty boy who got blown up. If Mary thought her second husband, Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley, would be an upgrade, she was sorely mistaken. Darnley was tall, handsome, and charming, basically the 16th century equivalent of a himbo. But beneath that pretty exterior was a vain, power-hungry, and generally terrible human being. Mary married him in 1565 hoping he'd be a strong partner. Instead, he turned out to be a whiny, jealous mess who demanded to be named king and then conspired against her. The relationship went downhill fast. Darnley was involved in the murder of Mary's secretary, David Rizzio, right in front of her while she was pregnant. Classy guy, right? By 1567, Darnley was recovering from an illness, possibly syphilis, because of course, when his house mysteriously exploded. He was found dead in the garden, strangled. Suspicion immediately fell on Mary, though she denied any involvement. Still, marrying a guy who ends up blown to smithereens doesn't exactly scream stable relationship. But Husband No. 3, the Earl of Bothwell, the kidnapper who left her high and dry. If Mary thought things couldn't get worse, she was wrong. Enter James Hepburn, the Earl of Bothwell, a rugged Scottish nobleman with a penchant for drama. Bothwell was accused of orchestrating Darnley's murder. Awkward. But that didn't stop Mary from marrying him just 3 months after Darnley's death. How did this happen? Well, according to Bothwell, he kidnapped Mary, and she fell in love with him during the ordeal. Sure, Jan, the marriage was a disaster from the start. Bothwell was widely hated, and Mary's subjects turned against her. When things got tough, Bothwell abandoned her in the middle of a battle and fled to Denmark, where he was eventually imprisoned and went mad. Mary, meanwhile, was forced to abdicate the throne and fled to England, where her cousin, Queen Elizabeth Furchurch, kindly imprisoned her for 19 years before finally chopping her head off in 1587. The moral of the story: choose wisely or lose your head. Mary's tragic love life is a cautionary tale for the ages. Her first husband died too young, her second husband was a toxic mess who got blown up, and her third husband kidnapped her and then left her to face the consequences alone. In the end, her poor choices in men didn't just ruin her reputation, they cost her her throne and her life. So, ladies and gents, take a page from Mary's book. If your potential partner is a whiny, power-hungry pretty boy, a suspected murderer, or a kidnapper with a flair for the dramatic, maybe swipe left. Because while love can be blind, it shouldn't be beheading blind. Mary, Queen of Scots, learned that the hard way, and now her story serves as a hilarious yet grim reminder that sometimes it's better to stay single. Support the channel, like and subscribe.